I'm Brad Hawkins. I'm the Chief Solutions Officer at ServicePower. And with me today is Matt Wren. I'm going to let Matt do a quick introduction of himself. Go for it, Matt.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Matt Wren. I'm a product manager for scheduling within ServicePower's platform.
Thank you. Scheduling. What does that really mean? As part of this intro, I know today we're going to talk about optimization, but let's talk about what scheduling means in our world as it relates to employed workforces. Why don't you go ahead and give the quick overview of that, and then I'm going to ask you some questions as it relates to optimization.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Brad. So scheduling is all about having a level of predetermined control over the resources that are in field. The skilled engineers, whatever they're doing, engineers or adjusters, a really expensive resource, and making sure that their time is utilized and that they are proficient is absolutely critical, because anytime they're not doing work is wasted money, essentially. So the whole premise of scheduling is that we are optimizing their time in a day, whether they're traveling all over the place to fulfill work, whether they're working from home. It's all about making sure that they are being used most efficiently. And that means being sent to the right type of work, making sure that we're using their differing skill sets as applicable, and perhaps most importantly, adhering to business goals. So every business has their own processes and a way of operating, and scheduling is all about understanding what the priorities are as a business, making sure that we're being proficient with that skilled resource within those constraints of business goals.
Great. So I'll add to that every field service organization, every field service software platform says they do optimization. One of the key things that you were talking about there is with the workforce you're talking about is employed. They're captive. So I can do certain things. I have 100% control of their schedule. I have the ability to dictate the technology that they're using. But everybody says they do optimization, and some do, some don't. But the reality is there is a level of complexity as it pertains to optimization. And that's really what I want us to dive into today is, do you believe everybody does optimization, or do you believe there are some pretty major differentiators in what we're doing?
There is absolutely differentiators in the way we operate. Optimization as a standalone term is extremely broad, and it can be as simplistic as a route optimization. I have this work and I need to go from A to B to C to D fastest. But that's a very, very basic approach to optimization. As I mentioned before, what we care about is a skilled workforce and the complexity of having overlapping coverage, of having a ever-changing demand in the field in terms of the work that's coming in, the type of work, the complexity of work, and trying to find a balance of that. That is true optimization, is all about making sure that you've got a balance where you've got a number of different parameters or a number of different processes that can all be adhered to and can all be followed, and finds that balance that gives you in-field proficiency.
Awesome. So I know there's a term that's been going around lately, because let's talk about, why does optimization matter and why does the level of optimization you can provide matter? So I'm going to throw a term at you and just kind of let you talk about it for a minute. Managing chaos.
Okay, I love the term chaos. I really do, particularly because we've been doing optimization for 30 years. Chaos relates specifically to anything and everything can go wrong in the field. I love the term shift happens, because always things are moving. It can be as ridiculous as someone in the field has decided to take a break when they weren't supposed to, and they've stopped for a coffee, to a van has broken down, to I need to stop for a part. There are literally millions of things that can and will get in the way of a quote unquote perfect schedule. And again, because we've been doing this for 30 years, we've seen them all. We've dealt with them all. The term chaos sums this up so well because it describes the impact on a business. Anything and everything can change, can go wrong, some of it positive, a lot of it negative, in terms of making sure our team in the field are utilized to the best of their ability. Our customers that this team are meeting are satisfied, are getting the work done that they need to do. All of that is impacted by chaos, and all of it can be in a very, very negative way. A lot of what happens in the field, particularly if we're talking about chaos, just isn't found out until right up to the point it happens. Maybe it's a busy freeway. We've got a whole team that work around a particular area that's snarled with traffic. What do? How do we plan for that? How do we react to that? Anything and everything can cause a huge amount of chaos from a schedule perspective. And what happens is you lose a few minutes here, or you lose a few minutes here, or we have to react, and then we have to lose even more time here. So maybe we found a quick resolve to this solution, but in actual fact, have we found a resolve that then has a hugely negative impact on the rest of the schedule? And very often, one of the challenges that software vendors like us will find is that those impacts, particularly if we're manually scheduling or if we're manually intervening in a schedule, those impacts can be absolutely massive, but also absolutely unseen. Someone will make a decision without all the information that they need, and it will just have a knock-on effect. So what we're doing is we're taking a chaos type action. We are then reacting to that. But the knock-on effect is we're actually creating our own chaos. Maybe we're taking some really critical work away from someone. Maybe we're just not aware of the impact of the decisions that we're going to make as part of that scheduling process. So the impact of things that are happening in the field is almost intangible in terms of how huge that can be on making sure that we've got a smooth in-field delivery.
Awesome. So that leads me to a question about another differentiator in the world where every FSM vendor tells you they optimize. And people throw around the term intraday optimization. So I would break that down a little bit into, you're going to have some vendors who tell you, I do optimization. That means at the end of the day, I run optimization to prepare a schedule for tomorrow. That obviously doesn't handle when chaos hits in the moment. Then there's those that would have maybe time-based optimization. So, hey, I run the optimizer every hour. But again, if I run it at 1 o'clock and at 1:01, the emergency job comes in that's going to shift 3 jobs around, I can't wait that hour. Then there's what I believe is sort of true intraday optimization, which is typically based on events. So after certain events happen, can you talk a little bit about that and what people need to be thinking about if they think about how they're using the time and that term intraday optimization?
Yeah, so I think in terms of having time-based optimization, in all honesty, you're completely reactive to problems that are happening. The honest answer is, as I mentioned before, when chaos happens, you don't know it's going to happen. You can predict a bit of it. You can be aware from previous experience that, hey, this is likely to happen, but you're certainly never going to know this is going to happen at this particular time. So in reality, in terms of intraday optimization, we absolutely have to be able to base a schedule, base the quality of a schedule on the fact that, okay, a good few things have changed here. So things have happened, events have changed, the details around jobs have changed, all sorts of things have happened, and that's feeding information through into the schedule. After a certain amount of changes, we need to go and recheck. The whole point of intraday optimization is that it will very rapidly get you from a point of chaos to a point of calm, essentially. A nice, calm, fluid schedule. But obviously, things are changing all the time. So if you've got a particularly chaotic 10 minutes, you may need to optimize twice in that 10 minutes, potentially. Or maybe you've got a nice, calm schedule for a long period of time and you're okay. You don't need to do as much intraday optimization. But the fact that we have the capability to be able to trigger that based on what's happening in the field specifically and define that based on what's happening in the field means that you've got then that flexibility to, you go from chaos to calm, a little bit more chaos happens, you go back to calm again, a little bit more chaos happens and a little bit more change happens and you go back to calm. It's a constant process. But that process absolutely has to be driven by what's happening in the field and the feedback that an application such as our scheduling system is receiving to say, these things have changed. We need to step in and re-optimize again.
I'm imagining a world where a dispatcher is managing his team. And as we keep saying, some chaos event happens and the optimizer ran a minute ago. And he says, don't worry, team, everything will be okay after 59 more minutes. That would not work. You need to be able to have that moment cause the trigger that says, oops, something happened. I need to go look at the schedule again and see how to handle this best.
I've even heard of situations in the FSM market where there are limitations to how much optimization you can do, and you're going to hit daily limits of these things. And imagine getting to 3:00 in the afternoon and you're out of optimization credits. And what do? We're going to live in chaos for 2 hours, or we're going to put a hand in a pocket? It's a horrendous place to be. It's a horrendous place to be.
All right, so let's button all this up now into thoughts for those who may be listening to this today. What would you tell a prospect when they go look at an FSM vendor and they have put on their website, I do optimization? What questions would you encourage them to ask? And I'll actually start you off a little bit here and you add on to what I'm saying. Because what I would encourage that prospect to ask is, what do you actually optimize on? How many parameters can I optimize on? Can you give me an example of some of those parameters? Is it time-based or is it in the moment? What other questions would you encourage them to ask?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Brad. I think in reality, they need to be basing their investigation of optimization around the breadth. So by the breadth of optimization, I mean, to touch on some of the items you said, what parameters are in play? And ultimately, when we say things like parameters and when we talk about this, what we're really saying is how invested is a solution in the type of problems we see today? Throw that at them. Throw the problems that you see and how are you going to be able to optimize into this scenario, this scenario, this scenario. As I mentioned before, we've been doing this for 30 years. Our approach to optimization when we first kind of approached this was a really, really solid foundation to make sure that intraday assisting people consistently to keep a calm schedule, whether it's absolutely tremendous chaos or whether it's a reasonable day, built our solution so that we can consistently deliver that calm message. And we've built on that for 30 years, adding this new chaos issue that arrives and this new chaos issue that arrives. So I think the biggest thing they need to get a grasp of, if a prospect is looking at a solution that offers optimization, one of the biggest things they can look at is the breadth of, well, this is how I run my business, but these are the problems I encounter. How do you solve for those? Because invariably, if that answer is, as you said before, you just got to wait for 58 minutes and then we'll sort it out for you. It's not the answer, is it?
No, I actually had just a funny story. I had another competitor that was mentioned to us, and the prospects actually said to us, yeah, when we use this software, they give us the ability to manually optimize. And I said to them, no more contradictory words have ever been spoken. Manual optimization. And that was, again, a software platform that said they did optimization. When we dug deeper, what we learned was, well, yeah, they show us a schedule. That's the definition of optimization for them. And then we drag all the jobs around to like fit what we think is best for our. And I said, there's not an ounce of optimization going on there. But they said it. They still said they do it. Anyways, let's move on to the next topic here, which is AI. Everybody says they're doing AI, some form of AI. AI is defined in many ways, but let's talk about AI as it relates to an optimizer and the ability to optimize schedules. I have some thoughts on this, but I'll let you go first, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I have to confess, as a product manager for a scheduling solution for the past 8 years, I've seen AI creep into a lot of marketing collateral and obviously kept my eye abreast on what's happening in the market and what this actually means. And it's frustrating, quite honestly, because it's in most cases nothing more than a buzzword, or in some of the more recent cases I've seen, AI, it seems to be an approach of we're going to rationalize and generalize your work processes so that they fit into our optimization approach. And that's just painful. It's horrendous to see. I genuinely feel for prospects who are looking for a scheduling solution because they see these words and they hear these buzzwords and there's some wonderful marketing around it. But in reality, what they're staring down the barrel of is you're going to have to make your team in the field operate in such a tight fashion because someone wanted to introduce AI to a product. And it's a painful one for me. Yep. From our perspective, I mentioned the approach we took many moons ago still stands true today. And we've built on it and we've improved it. But the approach is simply that we cannot be wasting time looking at problems from an optimization perspective that just aren't there. As part of weighing up a schedule, there are literally millions of decisions that are being made and millions of permutations that kind of fall out of this in terms of a negative impact on a schedule if we don't get this right. So, and again, to go back to the intraday, we have to get to it. You have to be in a place where this is rapid. And what that means is you have to be able to, as part of the algorithm is running, as part of the engine is running, as part of optimization is happening, we have to be smart about that. For us, where AI comes in, we identify that there are certain situations where, let's say we have a couple of jobs that need to be completed. And if we know that going from A to B is quicker than going from A to C, then we dismiss A to C. So as we're building that schedule, and obviously if you can appreciate thousands of resources in the field and therefore tens of thousands of jobs in the field that our customers have, if you consider it in those terms, there's so many decisions to be made because it isn't just about a travel time. It's about making sure that Are we using this person who's highly skilled to the absolute nth degree? Are we using them in the right way and sending them to the right level of work? We've got to find that balance. So we can't waste time working out, well, I'm going to work out every combination of I'm going from A to C to D to B. There's no need to be doing that. As soon as you know that actually is going to make the most amount of sense to try and fulfill these jobs in this kind of order, and that's going to keep that travel down, it's going to keep that white space down from a schedule perspective, that's going to then free up the time to then bring in all of those other parameters, all of those other items that are critical to you as a business, making sure you hit that SLA, for example, making sure that you've got a happy customer, making sure that you're sending the right guy with the right parts, whatever that happens to be. Those are the things that absolutely have to be considered. So in our terms, AI is very much about having that smart decision-making process as we're building a schedule. It has to have that smart learning approach as it builds. And that's exactly what we do. It's very rare, it's very unique approach to optimization, but there is potentially so much wasted solution time, solution effort, or application effort in approaching it any other way. But unfortunately, that is the way most people have approached it, and it is a shame, really.
Yep. All right. Let me give my 2 cents on AI as it relates to optimization, and then we'll wrap up here. Again, I always look at AI as that there are many different protocols of AI. When you think of there's generative AI, there's rules-based AI, there's algorithmic AI, there's things like computer vision. The key to AI, in my opinion, is there's mountains of data as it relates to a workforce, and you have to have a feedback loop of data. That's when they typically talk about the machine learning that's going on. And whatever protocol of AI you're using, you can make the case that maybe in an optimizer, there's algorithmic AI, whatever it might be. But the key is for your system to understand, I've got a workforce that's out there and I've got real-time data as to what's happening with them. Can I use that data in like a large language model to give a feedback loop to say, how is my tech efficiency improving over time? What do the routes look like over time? What do I know about the product or event that's going on over time? And if I can put that feedback loop in place, that's going to allow your optimizer to not just be hitting a static set of parameters. Those parameters are evolving over time as you're learning about your workforce. And now you're applying these rules and this AI to it that says, hey, in this moment, this is your best option, which maybe a month ago, that might not have been your best option, but things have changed. And as they continue to change, the optimizer is in line with what's changing. So today, for our listeners, one, if you joined us and listened to this, thank you. I think our goal today was to arm you with some knowledge and questions that as you're evaluating FSM platforms and you continue to hear the word optimization, how do you dig deeper to understand differentiation in what people are saying when they say optimization? So Matt, I'm going to put you on the spot one last time. Quick response here. Give me your quick value points of what an optimizer should bring to an organization. What kind of results should it deliver for them?
From a value perspective, to reiterate how we started this conversation, it's all about managing the chaos, okay? You as a business want to operate under particular terms. You know your workforce, you know your processes, you need optimization that is going to fit into that. And ultimately, it's going to deliver efficiency. It's going to make sure that you are utilizing your workforce as much as possible, but also in the right way. Not just throwing mud at a wall. You need an intelligent deliverable, a calm schedule that has managed all the chaos, that has worked within certain goals that you want to determine as a business and delivered. Make sure that it's the right people to the right place with as little effort on their part as possible.
Awesome. Again, for those who decided to take a listen today, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.